Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Maverick News Channel. Great to have everybody here. Evil monster. That's the way Robin Westman was described during today's news conference at the White House. We'll bring you more on that. Ukraine has a new weapon that it has unveiled that some think may be a game changer in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Others think it might be a bluff. And we have a lot of other news to share with you tonight as well, so let's not delay things any further. Let's get this out of the way and come back on the other side and get right to it.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So right off the top, we're going back to this story out of Minnesota where 2 children, ages 8 and 10, were killed and 18 other people were injured yesterday when a shooter, Robin Westman, or Robert Westman, depending on which version you want to go with, opened fire during a morning mass at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. 15 children, ages 6 to 15, and 3 adult parishioners were wounded. Today at the White House, the president's press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, described Westman as an evil monster.
More room in their budgets at the end of each month, which is the exact opposite of what we saw under the previous administration. And as we commemorate Labor Day this year, we finally have a president who fights and delivers for the American worker every single day. President Trump believes that American workers are the heart and soul of our economy.
And we have to backtrack. Here we go.
Good to see all of you. I want to begin today's briefing by addressing the horrific shooting that took place yesterday at the Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where a deranged shooter opened fire during morning mass, killing an innocent 8-year-old and 10-year-old. 14 other children and 3 adults were also injured during this horrible tragedy. This was the first morning mass of the school year for these beautiful, innocent children, and this sacred religious service was desecrated by an evil monster. We are all eternally grateful to the heroic law enforcement officers and first responders whose courage and swift response aided all of those impacted by this horrible tragedy. As Director Kash Patel confirmed yesterday, the FBI is currently investigating this shooting as an act of domestic terrorism and a hate crime targeting Catholics. President Trump signed a proclamation yesterday following his call with the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, acknowledging the victims and their families and directing flags to be flown at half-mast. President Trump and the First Lady encouraged the entire nation to join all of us in praying for the victims and their families as they face unimaginable grief and loss. The White House and the FBI will continue to provide further updates as they become available. I also have a quick scheduling announcement for you today. The President will travel to New York City on September 22nd to address the United Nations.
So that's the way it began, and then there were questions that followed. And all this as politically, people take sides in this and try to blame the other side. So if you're on one side, you're blaming one side. If you're on the other side, you're blaming the other side. And Westman did post a manifesto. I did put some of that material up on our Twitter account overnight, but not all of it, because I do not want to sensationalize or glorify in any way what this person did or give them the publicity that they really likely were looking for. We did see on their social media video that they posted, Westman, all kinds of messages written on the weapons that he was using in the commission of this heinous act, including phrases like "kill Trump" and a lot of anti-Semitic messages as well, characterized in the media today in some cases as sort of a person who hated just about everything and everyone. And that is not an exaggeration. If you look at the material posted, really, truly, a lot of hatred aimed at just about every group out there. And the video is very, very disturbing. I have a copy of it, but I did not post it because I just found the whole thing so sickening and so sad and frightening. I just didn't feel it was productive to post it. And if people really want to see it, it is out there, even though the authorities have tried to scrub it from the internet. This is a picture of Robin Westman, previously known as Robert, went through a name change. And here in this social media post, it says, written on his guns and magazines were things like "Kill Trump now," 6 million was not enough. For the children, I'm the woker baby. So queer is. And there seemed to be a lot of self-hate, self-loathing residing inside this poor soul. There are images of the weapons, as I say. You can see all these different hateful messages aimed at all kinds of different groups and people, including some individuals. This is what they're referring to as a manifesto. It reads as much like a letter to some of his family members as much as anything else. And it is also disturbing. And that's the way the video begins. It's just disgustingly gross, beyond disturbing. It's like something out of a horror movie come to life. That's a picture of his mother. And then we're also seeing a lot of people trying to dig into this and, find some political affiliation here or an affiliation to a group. Suggestions that there was a Black Lives Matter sign posted outside of his house, that his father may have been employed by a company with ties to the CIA. So all of these things are flowing around out there, but I caution everyone to take all of it with, a grain of salt, because we are into the early days of all of this. And right now, I would say, as always, especially at this juncture, truth is elusive, and lies may be circulating in full force. So I'm reserving judgment on many aspects of this. The one thing that is clear is that this is a tragedy. There's no question about that, and there are a lot of things that have clearly gone wrong in this person's life to get them to this point, which is where they took their own life at the scene of the crime. And clearly from the messages written on those weapons, just full of anger and full of hate and self-loathing. I'm going to take a break. I quite honestly, it was so disturbing to me after last night's broadcast that I just had to try to just shut everything out for a while, because we've seen too much of this. And as much as people are trying to, connect political dots here, what I personally see, because I've been acquiring and archiving a lot of material from a lot of the high profile shooters from schools and political shootings over the last couple of years. I have a lot of the material on file that I've skimmed off social media with each of these incidents, whether it's the attacks on Trump or even the attempts to get close to RFK Jr. There are absolute similarities in the way these manifestos are written, the things they are angry about, the groups that they direct their anger toward. There is absolutely a common thread that runs through all of it. I find it interesting, and that I find deeply disturbing. And that raises a lot of red flags for me, especially when I begin to think about the state today of social media, experimentation, psychology, artificial intelligence, and the way information is being conveyed to people, not just conveyed, but distributed and even targeted. It's affecting people's minds. And that's again why I caution everyone tonight to just be careful, because when I come back, I'm going to just show you again the impact that the social media ecosystem is having on everyone, especially in the wake of something like this, because you know what they say, never let a good crisis go to waste. I'll be right back on the other side.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
So Marshall McLuhan, if you know who he is, he's someone I refer to. He's a media icon. He's the guy who came up with the phrase, "The medium is the message." I'm sure you've heard it. I've used it here many times on the program, and today that's more true than ever, because it's the technology, which is the medium, that becomes the message. But more than that, the messages themselves then create a snowball effect, and the messages fuel more messages. They amplify messages. Case in point, this shooting in Minneapolis. And this happens every single time we have an incident like this. As soon as the incident happens, of course, media report, social media also reports, but more than that, everything becomes focused for a while during a news cycle on this particular incident or a particular incident, such as the case yesterday. And people use it to further their political agendas or their religious agendas or whatever it is that they're trying to promote or whatever cause that they may have or their own self-interest. And it really does serve the self-interest of many people to get people fighting. And I've seen within the past 48 hours, it actually kind of began days ago when I saw videos like, well, this one here. This is before the shooting in Minnesota. Here's Jagmeet Singh, former leader of the New Democratic Party in Canada, and lost his seat in the last election, lost his bid for re-election in his local riding. So now he's no longer in Parliament, no longer in politics, really, except on the periphery. He'll be back. He's still circulating. He's still out there. And he posted this video the other day. And I noticed that one of the people who shared it, not a Jagmeet Singh fan, a political opponent, who said, why is Jagmeet posting a video of fighting? And this is what he posted. What's your name? Green. Like this. And it did get my attention. And I do wonder, why are you posting something like that? This is a prominent politician. And videos like that get people jacked up. I've seen other people also talking about knocking people's blocks off, fighting, the home invasion story in Lindsay, Ontario, where we see actually in court documents that the person who broke into the home, the court documents indicate the guy was armed with a crossbow. Not clear yet why the homeowner is facing the charges that they are facing, but it appears that they may have counterattacked or defended their home using a knife. But we have to wait for more facts to come out so that we can fully assess what happened there. But regardless of that, as a result, I saw people posting videos and heard them, talking about beating people up as a solution to crime. So vigilante justice in many respects. More than that, I've seen calls from people like, well, even what was her name? Valentina Gomez, the U.S. politician from Texas, who posted a video setting the Quran on fire with a flamethrower. Do I have her clip up here? No, hang on a second here. I'm going to show you this. Now she, as a result of many things, I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, as I said, when you set a Quran on fire, you're telling me a few things. One, that you don't believe in freedom of religion because you want to shut somebody up, and you don't want them to have the freedom to worship in the way they want to. I'm not defending anybody's religion. I'm not criticizing anybody's religion. I'm simply highlighting what is constitutional. I'm talking about rights and freedoms legally in a free society. So this is a U.S. politician who clearly doesn't believe in religious freedom. Well, I think advocating or saying that she does, setting a Quran on fire in order to defend Christianity, but certainly not freedom. And now it's posting this today, well, I think within the last day, saying, guess who got arrested? I guess she got arrested. Not clear why. I tried to look it up. I don't know what she might have been arrested for. And she's also coming under fire because she's being accused of taking money now from AIPAC because she's come out so hard against Hamas, and they're comparing these posts before and after. I'll play it for you, but again, just fueling fear and getting people jacked up so that people fight over these hot button issues.
Israel has influence on both sides of the political aisle in American politics. For that reason, I will never be taking $1 from AIPAC because my allegiance is to the people, to the Constitution, and most importantly, to God. My morals and integrity are not for sale, and I will always put America first.
There's a lot of Hamas people coming for me on my social media.
I firmly stand with Israel. As part of a military family, we do not want World War III.
Israel has
So a bit of an inconsistency. Very controversial. She also in the past posted a video of a mock execution of a person sitting in a chair with a hood over their head, holding a gun to their head, but it's a dummy. And it's a sort of a mock execution. It was taken even off Twitter for being too extreme, getting people jacked right up. And while calling for public executions of illegal immigrants that commit crimes. I'll show you. There's been quite a bit of pushback over time as a result of that. Let me see if I can find it here for you. Computer freezing up here a bit. Computer has to catch up. Here we go. This is the League of United Latin American Citizens, and obviously Gomez. Hispanic, if you want to use that phrase. She's from Colombia or has Colombian background, and they've denounced her for calling for public executions of undocumented immigrants. And the fight escalates. Nation's oldest, largest Latino civil rights organization calls for justice, not hate-motivated retribution targeting certain types of accused suspects in America. You can go find that page if you want. That's lulac.org. And these are the most inflammatory of issues, to be sure. Alex Jones making the most of it. He's running the video on his channel at length. And while all that is going on, see, you've got the immigration thing, and everybody's fighting about that. You have calls for public executions. You've got people hating Christians, and you have some people hating Christians. You have Christians hating Muslims. You have a prominent, although not a winning, U.S. politician calling for public executions of undocumented immigrants. You have her setting a Quran on fire. No wonder people are in such a bad mood. What else do we have? We've got now the shooting. And when I look at what's circulating on social media on a day-to-day basis, it's enough to drive even sane people insane. It's enough to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln. It's depressing. And they love to have you fight. I've seen other politicians latching on to now the whole drug cartel thing, and not to mention the school shooting. And now, as a result of that, we see this is being shared by some politicians, even in Canada. This is senators in Mexico engaging in a fist fight after a heated debate over U.S. military intervention against drug cartels. And that whole thing is escalating to a point where it's getting out of control and may actually erupt into a full-scale war or invasion of some kind, as I will show you here. But here's what happened in Mexico with these politicians, and politicians even in Canada are reposting this fight Because why? It generates clicks. It polarizes people. It helps them politically. Fight, 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 fight. Everybody's fighting. The world has changed, man. You know, and everything really turned when the pandemic hit. Everything changed. That was the moment. It's very clear, and I sure missed the before times. Everything's jacked up. And when I say, and look, I mean, here, I'm going to show you the Alex Jones Twitter feed, and look what he's running. Like, I could run that stuff too, and I would get a whole bunch of views, but I just didn't feel it was helpful at this point to do it. Maybe I should, but I do believe in giving people as much information as possible. But at the same time, I have to balance that against giving the mass shooter what they were really looking for, which is a lot of publicity. Here.
Like Gollum about his precious. You have to understand, when you read about Renfield in Bram Stoker's Dracula, he talks about my precious and things like that. And so you listen to this admitted devil worshiper, Satanist, trans cult, and everybody praising him, the trans groups everywhere saying, great job, kill, kill, kill. And he sounds like different archetypal things you've seen in movies and culture. That's because those movies and the literature and The Exorcist is based on real stuff, folks.
In the years following the release of The Lord of the Rings and its mass...
It's just, here. I just do a little bit of a oh my God. I just, I'll be back in a minute. It's just off the charts.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, I'm back. In Quebec, you know, they're grappling. Well, here, let's see if I can find the latest on this. In Quebec, they are trying to ban public prayer. Here we go. I'll just bring up the headline. I've been following this for the past few days. Haven't really commented on it, but we will here because it's connected to all of this. Here we go. Quebec government to table legislation to ban prayer in public places. And this is because they are trying to strengthen secularism in the province. Says here that the announcement makes good on a suggestion put forward in December by the Premier of Quebec, who said that he didn't want to see people praying in public parks or on streets. And they actually have a secularism minister in Quebec. His name is Jean-François Roberge, and he confirmed he will table legislation this fall to outlaw the practice. So this has been making headlines, making waves with different takes on the story over the last few days, including from schools who say that they actually have a staff shortage in Quebec schools because they're trying to purge any kind of religious commentary or influence within the public school system there, including they don't want teachers wearing any religious symbols or anything like that. And so they've had some attrition in their staffing levels. But this doesn't relate just like it's not just for Muslims, it's for all religions. And I have to say, just me personally, and I think this is embedded to some degree in our political system here in Canada. I do believe in the separation of church and state because only then can you actually have freedom of religion. And that may be a subject that we can dig into in a deeper way in the days ahead. I have a guest in mind maybe who would be suitable for a deeper discussion on that, but we'll see if that comes together. And there are, some very strong arguments to be made for the separation of church and state, and there are also some real dangers, in my view, of integrating religion into the political system, making people will say, well, we're a Christian country, we're a Christian society. Well, you better be careful, because if you allow God to be defined in a particular way in your constitution, if you attach a denomination to it or a particular religion to the God identified in your constitution, then if you lose power and somebody else comes in, they can do the same thing. The point that I'm making is that you need a non-denominational God so that everybody can practice their religion and no religion can dominate over any other. But it's a very complex issue because religion is part of culture and morality, and that weaves its way through all of your laws, all of your programs, your way of looking at the world, your worldview. It becomes a very complex web of beliefs, ideologies, standards, practices, and it's pretty easy to descend into darkness if you put one thing over another thing. All in all, I think we in our societies up here in Canada and the US, in particular in Canada, I think since certainly Confederation, we've done a decent job of trying to find that balance, but not always. And a lot of people are in the middle of upsetting the apple cart. And as people get more and more jacked up, and some of this is real and some of it, I would say, is fabricated, amplified, manufactured crisis, manufacturing consent, even for wars. Look at have you noticed what is going on? Have you noticed what is going on around Venezuela? All you have to do is take a look at social media. All kinds of posts over the last even 24 hours about a huge buildup of U.S. military around Venezuela. Here we are. Here's defense intelligence. 7 U.S. warships, including an assault ship, a cruiser, and a nuclear submarine, have arrived in South America. But what is really driving this sudden move near Venezuela? And this is not just social media posts that I'm referring to here. There are there's a lot of mainstream media talk beginning to come online as well. You know, some of these videos I think are maybe reposted footage for dramatic effect and to make you begin to take note, but it's aimed, I think, specifically at a very, targeted demographic. I have to tell you, this I find concerning. U.S. forces are massing near Venezuela, it says here in Defense Index. An operation to capture Nicolas Maduro could happen sooner than anyone expects. Oh, there's Donnie Trump. And they're going to put Nicolas Maduro in jail. True ambitions focus securing Venezuela's.
The U.S. has just deployed warships, submarines, and military forces to Venezuela's coast and is fully prepared to launch an attack because the U.S. claims Venezuela has become a state-sponsored hub for drug cartels smuggling drugs to the U.S. and the world. The U.S. has now explicitly declared its plans for a military operation and has offered a $50 million reward for the arrest of President Nicolas Maduro. It is important to note that Venezuela sits on the world's largest oil reserves, yet its economy has collapsed under harsh international sanctions. Venezuela's oil exports face severe restrictions, with the majority of its trade now limited to partners like China, India, and select Latin American countries. Any country engaging in this trade also risks facing heavy U.S. sanctions. In response to this U.S. move, Venezuela has been placed on high alert. Meanwhile, some reports suggest Russia may be secretly deploying forces to Venezuela, given Venezuela's close ties with both Russia and China. What's really behind this sudden military buildup? First, is the United States genuinely acting only to combat drug trafficking? Second, is the real goal to pressure the arrest and removal of President Nicolas Maduro? Or third, and perhaps most importantly, are America's true ambitions focused on securing Venezuela's massive oil reserves, the largest in the world?
And I wish I had the answer to some of those questions. I color me skeptical about a lot of these things, especially with this Trump administration. Oh, there's the video of them fighting a Mexico game. Because when I look at what Trump is doing with Canada and all this 51st state rhetoric and manufacturing an excuse for some sort of intervention in Canada, or maybe even an invasion, although people laugh when most people still laugh when you say it, some people are beginning to take it very seriously, including some very learned people who are beginning to take it seriously as a real serious threat. And this whole fentanyl thing, Canada, major, yeah, right. We know that the U.S., the data out of the government on the U.S. side itself shows that Canada is not the fentanyl hub that the Trump administration would have some people believe, including you, to justify whatever it is that seems to be coming from the U.S. side. And when I'm looking down there now at Venezuela, I know that Trump doesn't like what has been going on down there in Venezuela, because why? He's a socialist, and some would say communist, and some would say dictator. But is he? And what right does the United States have to invade a sovereign nation, Venezuela? What really was the justification for this, to take it to this level? When I see what they've done to manufacture this BS about the fentanyl crisis coming from Canada, it's the other way around, by the way. It's flowing from the U.S. up into Canada and then out into other countries. And it's also coming in, obviously, from China. But the drugs are flowing more from the US up into Canada than the other way around. So when I see this happening down in Venezuela, my radar is up. It's raising red flags for me. And because we're so far removed, who knows? I have no doubt that there are drugs coming from Venezuela, but to what degree? And does it justify an invasion? And then when I see the U.S. troops amassed along the the U.S.-Mexico border, and they're using drugs and a war on the drug cartels on the Mexican side as justification for everything they're doing there, I'm seeing a pattern emerge. So now it's the drug issue that is driving the buildup of U.S. military forces against Venezuela, against Mexico. You have troops amassed on both borders on that front. Up here in Canada, they're using the fentanyl drug issue as one of the main drivers for the 51st state movement as an excuse, plus all these other things layered on top to drive forward this whole 51st state thing, as bizarre and twisted as it all is. And it's been a long, ongoing campaign. Of that, I am now certain, because there is so much empirical evidence to back up what I'm asserting here right now. Not the least of which is that there's another convoy being promoted, believe it or not, for the middle of next month. But for what purpose? I thought the convoy, the Freedom Convoy, was supposed to be about the mandates and getting rid of the mandates. Well, the mandates, especially the ones in particular for the truckers, were dropped like over 2 years ago, man. So why would we keep seeing this repeated effort over and over to do another convoy, to protest what exactly? What is the issue now? It's just the flavor of the day? I'm not locked down at the moment. Mandates were dropped. I get that you want, some change, and so do I. But is another convoy the answer? I don't know, because when I've seen some of the videos flowing for, promoting this whole thing for next month, and I don't think they have very much, if any, traction on it, to be quite frank with you. I think they're trying to jack it up and get people interested in doing it again. But the interesting thing that I have found, and I'll maybe show you this in the nights ahead, I didn't cue the video up, but I've seen some videos. What are they flying on the trucks in the videos that they're using to promote this on social media? American flags. More and more, there's increasing clarity in the rear view mirror as I look back and then see what's going on around me. Definitely some people, some groups there to try to rip this country, Canada, apart. And I think that we're just one of the targets for this crazy Trump administration, this insane president who seems determined to reshape the world globally. You talk about globalism? Yeah. It's sitting in the White House, man, right now. He is the globalist. This is the new world order that they're trying to bring in. Just all you got to do is just look in the rearview mirror, put the pieces together, connect the dots, and keep watching here, because we keep bringing you the evidence. We keep trying to get you a little bit closer to the truth every single night. And it has been a journey that we've been taking together. And we're probably only about halfway there, I expect. Maybe not even that far. I don't know how long this is going to go on, but it's all freaking insane.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
The Russia-Ukraine war. I mean, what am I talking about? Trump again. All this performance art, the political performance art that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, the Alaska summit, the meeting between all the European leaders with Zelensky and Trump in the White House. And where do we sit tonight? Pretty much exactly where we sat before all of that, any of that took place. No closer to peace in Ukraine. Russia's not stopping. They've increased the attacks against Ukraine. Let me see. They also have a new weapon in Ukraine that I'm going to show you because they're not giving up either. Here we go. Here's, here, I'll just show you. There's some images here to go with this. Kyiv hit overnight by more drones. I believe it was 15. I've heard conflicting numbers, but about 15 people killed, including at least one child overnight. How many people killed in Minnesota? Everybody's up in arms over 2 children killed there. You know, I have to wonder sometimes, like, what the hell is the difference between a mass shooter and some maniac that launches drones into residential areas that kills 15 people, including a couple of children? Death is death. Make it make sense for me. Kyiv hit by massive Russian missile drone attack. Officials say, 22 killed now. Russia launched 598 drones and launched 31 missiles overnight. Kyiv and other parts of Ukraine came under a major combined missile and drone attack overnight into Thursday, Ukrainian officials said. Kyiv is under massive attack, said officials in Ukraine. At least 63 people were injured across the city, including 11 children. Ukraine's Air Force and Russia launched Ukraine's Air Force said Russia launched 598 drones and 31 missiles into the country overnight. 5 of which 563 drones and 26 missiles were shot down or suppressed. Impacts were reported across 13 locations, the Air Force said, with falling debris reported in 26 locations. You can see people huddled here in parking garages, underground parking garages, taking cover. You can see the damage to this apartment building and to that car, obviously. Emergency officials out in front, firefighters. A massive amount of damage to that dwelling. More buildings damaged. Like, these are not military targets. So again, make it make sense for me. How is any of that justified? It's just right there in front. You can see it. Attacks on civilians. That's out of ABC. Russia's defense ministry, meanwhile, said its forces shot down 102 Ukrainian drones overnight. Ukraine has largely been targeting oil refineries. As a result, I know that Russian oil output is down somewhere between 17 and 20% because Ukraine is not giving up. Regardless of what has happened with these peace talks, regardless of the shift in the change in power, the handing of the torch of power from Biden to Trump, and everything that's happened in that regard, and the change in policy, which is pretty obvious. The Ukrainians are not giving up, and now they have a new weapon, the Flamingo missile. Here, I'll show you, first of all, see if we can get a good photo of it. Here's one here. A lot of defense and military publications on top of this tonight. It's been unveiled by Ukraine. This is a weapon that has a range of 1,800 miles, or about 3,000 kilometers. For Ukraine, some say this will be a game changer. And it shows that Ukraine is really taking its own sovereignty, its own defense into its own hands. Ukraine begins mass production of 3,000 kilometer range Flamingo cruise missile. New long-range platform boosts strategic strike capabilities and domestic defense manufacturing scale. So what this does is it really puts most of Russia, European Russia, within striking range of Ukraine. And because they are producing these, they've developed these and they're producing them in Ukraine, it will no longer be necessary to check with the US or the UK or any of the other countries that have been supplying weapons to see if it's okay, or if they get approval to launch attacks at specific targets within Russia. So this will be a useful weapon to again continue the assaults on Russian oil infrastructure, further hobbling the Russian economy, which is seeing clear signs of stress. We've seen lineups at gas stations, reports from Russian media itself about gas rationing in some areas of Russia and in Crimea as a result of these attacks. More analysis from, I think, some pretty credible pundits out there saying that it's becoming increasingly difficult for Russia to continue the war because of the impact that it's having on the Russian economy, where we're seeing interest rates now in some cases as high as 21%. So that certainly is a wrinkle in the ointment. I think we have some video here too to show you of these missiles. Yeah, here we go. I've got some footage to show you because they've released this footage. These are ground-based missiles. And so, yeah, it is true that Europe is behind and they don't have the weapons that probably are needed to robustly help Ukraine in this conflict. But here we go. Okay, let's get you another angle on this. Here's a second video. And however they're targeting them, it appears to be a system that is independent of the need for U.S. intelligence or U.S. targeting technology. So this frees Ukraine to fire these missiles. Now, I don't know how many they've produced. They say they're going into production. They probably have already gone into production at this point. Otherwise, they likely wouldn't be releasing this information at all. But I am seeing on the Russian side social media posts saying that a lot of this is just a bunch of propaganda, that it's an exaggeration, that Ukraine probably doesn't have anywhere near the capabilities that they are claiming they have as a result of this. So it's, again, an information war out there. Whatever the truth is, time will tell. We'll see if these missiles are used en masse at all. And the war politically continues within the United States itself as the Trump administration continues to purge government departments, agencies of political opponents. We're seeing here that the CDC experienced a walkout of staff at their Atlanta headquarters. They say they are protesting the damage caused by RFK Jr., who some inside the CDC are labeling a, you guessed it, conspiracy theorist. And that's because we've seen Trump go in there. And what did he do? He fired, who was it? It was the CDC. Got him. I'm going to make sure I get the right name and position. Here we go. Yeah. So it was a dozen staffers described the mood inside the agency as tense, obviously, and they say that they are questioning how much longer they should remain in their roles amid fears that the agency is, in the words of one staffer, changing from a trusted scientific organization to a personal dictatorship run by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Quote, how are we supposed to function as an agency if everything has to run through a man who doesn't believe in basic scientific principles? This is something that was said by a CDC staffer to ABC. And I'll show you the video of the walkout here. Yeah, I know. But I believe this and I believe that. Well, when it comes to actual science, it doesn't really matter what you believe. It matters what is. But if you are able to cast doubt on even scientific empirical evidence, then it comes back to what people believe. But that can be dangerous too. I don't want to explore all that tonight. I'm just going to show you what happened. Yeah. Strangest of times. Here, let's go up and I'm going to show you the ABC headline. Every major media outlet reporting on this. This is just one of them. Here we go. Hopeless CDC staff in turmoil amid Trump administration's effort to oust director.
Acting director of the CDC, Dr. Richard Besser, joins me now. Dr. Besser, thank you for coming on. What do you make of Susan Menard's refusing to step down and these other CD officials essentially resigning in protest?
Yeah, well, thanks, Diane. Coincidentally, I had a meeting with Dr. Menard yesterday before this all broke, and I've reached out in the past to all of the CDC directors to offer my support and to look to see how we at the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation could work with them. And one of the things that I always want to know is whether the director has a line in the sand that they won't cross. And what she said to me is that there were two lines. One is that she would never do anything that was illegal, and the other was that she would never do anything that flew in the face of science. And she was being asked to do both of those things. One, in firing her leadership team, who are incredibly talented public servants. She wouldn't do that since there was no cause to do that. And she refused to do blanket endorsements for ACIP or immunization recommendations that were not based in science. The loss of her as a director gives me great concern. She is a very principled scientist, a public servant, and having someone like that in that role gave me some hope that there could be pushback against some of the moves that Secretary Kennedy has been undertaken. But I don't want us to lose the fact that we also have the resignation of 4 incredibly talented leaders at the agency who felt that they could no longer do their jobs. The head of the immunization center, in his resignation letter, acknowledged that he was not consulted, his team was not consulted as the secretary was making recommendations around measles, around COVID vaccination. And so for the agency to look like it was providing support and endorsement for recommendations coming from Secretary Kennedy that are not based on evidence and science, it just could not be part of that. This is very concerning for the health and safety of people here in America.
So what does this shakeup mean for the future of the CDC?
That's a really good question. We had the world's #1 gold standard public health agency. It wasn't perfect. There was a lot that needed to improve there. But what we're seeing with the firing of hundreds of CDC employees, the loss of leadership, a secretary who not only doesn't turn to them for advice, but has, through his words, led to a situation in which the CDC has been vilified. The fact under his watch, we saw a gunman shoot hundreds of rounds into buildings at the campus that I once worked in. It is absolutely chilling, and I think that it's going to take the White House to step up and say, we believe that our nation needs to be ready for the next public health emergency, and this secretary is not doing that. It's going to take Congress stepping up and saying we have a role in terms of oversight in what the executive branch does. They have not been doing that. I was very pleased to see that Senator Cassidy is going to be doing some hearings in the removal or the resignation of these top leaders at CDC. These groups have to step up and say the health of people in America matters.
The FDA changes will significantly limit access to the COVID vaccine. The latest COVID vaccines were only approved for elderly people and for younger people if they have at least one underlying condition. What's your take on that, and what's the potential impact here?
Yeah, what we're seeing is a situation where as a clinician, we're not going to be able to look to the CDC for the gold standard in terms of recommendations. I am a pediatrician. I'm a fellow of the American Academy of Pediatrics. I was really pleased to see that they came out with recommendations that differ from the CDC. And it's going to be confusing for patients to know what to do. I recommend that people talk to someone they trust, to their doctor, their nurse, their pharmacist, because CDC is not going to be the place that we can turn to. You know, what you would have expected from FDA is that they would have approved this vaccine for all, and the CDC would have recommended it for higher risk groups, and it would have been available to others. That may not be the case anymore.
All right, former acting director of the CDC, Dr. Richard Besser. We appreciate your time today, as always, Dr. Besser. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So once again, the COVID vaccine at the center of a debate. I'll be back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I need to figure out where this audio is coming through my headphones so I can turn it off. Let me take another break just for a moment while I address this technical problem.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
All right, we're back. And my computer screen has gone all crazy on me. Try and get things back here so that I can click on stuff properly. Hang on. It's not letting me do what I need to do. My apologies. I've backed myself into a technical corner here with my repeated clicking on click things. That's better. Now we got it. There we go. Now I have control again. Believe it or not. Wildfires, Nova Scotia, still raging. The number of houses, the stat on that, kind of murky up to this point. We are about to get some level of clarification on that issue from Nova Scotia's Emergency Management Minister, Kim Masland. We're going to go to Nova Scotia here and get this update. and maybe some clarification on how many homes have been lost to the flames. Here we go.
Deputy Warden Enslow, Jim, Scott, and Andrew for joining me today. The Long Lake wildfire is still out of control at 8,234 hectares. As the Premier mentioned on Monday, we know that unfortunately there has been loss of homes. Until now, we haven't given numbers on how many homes were damaged or lost out of respect for the homeowners. They deserve the respect of being informed first. The municipality has worked hard to connect all the affected residents, and fire crews have assessed all properties in the evacuation zone. So today, I confirm that there are 505 civic addresses in the current evacuation zone. In terms of how many people that translates to, we can't say for certain because not all evacuees have registered with the Red Cross and not all evacuated buildings were residences. What we do know is that 267 households and 518 people registered with the Red Cross. But again, that's not the full number of evacuees. I can confirm with a heavy heart that 20 homes were lost. Not all of these were primary residences. There were also 11 lost or damaged buildings like garages and sheds that were not on the properties of the 20 lost homes. There were 88 homes in the evacuation area that had sprinkler systems in place. Of those 88 homes, only 3 with sprinklers were lost because of reasons like topography or vegetation. Assessment of damage will continue for other homes, outbuildings, campers, trailers, as it is safe to do so. I want to speak directly to all of those who have lost a home in this wildfire. My heart breaks for what you're going through. I can't even imagine the stress this devastation has put on you and your family. The heartbreak of seeing the place you filled with memories and comfort and safety being destroyed so suddenly is not something that I can wrap my mind around. Please know that we are here for you to help you recover. And for those of you who have been evacuated from your home, our goal is to get you back home as soon as it's safe. I know that being displaced from your home is not an easy thing, but we need to ensure that you can go back safely. While working hard to get you back, we have to remember that this is still an active wildfire, so it's not safe yet. On Tuesday, my department announced financial support for evacuees of the wildfire. Information on how to apply for this support will be available on the Department of Emergency website later this afternoon, and it's also available through your municipality if you choose to apply in person. I encourage everyone who is eligible for funding to claim it. And just today, my department also launched a tool to give Nova Scotians more access to critical alerts through a Nova Scotia Alert app. This free alert system works with mobile phones using older 3G networks on Wi-Fi, meaning that it can provide emergency alerts in many areas of the province with low cellular coverage. The current National Alert Ready system requires LTE or 5G networks, which we know are not available in many parts of rural Nova Scotia. More information on the app can be found on the emergency management website. So many people from organizations across Nova Scotia and other provinces have been fighting this fight in lockstep. Annapolis County staff, our DNR firefighters, our local firefighters and crew from Ontario, our own helicopter water bomber fleet, aircraft from Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Northwest Territories, Quebec, and PEI. The Nova Scotia Guard and all of our partners, the Red Cross, Salvation Army, and our federal partners at 14 Greenwood. The list goes on. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you're doing to keep Nova Scotians safe. The only other thing I'd like to add is that for anyone who would like to help in the wildfire effort, you can contact the Salvation Army with donations to support evacuees of the Long Lake wildfires, or contact the Nova Scotia Guard to offer your skills for future emergencies. Thank you.
Okay. Now, this has become politically charged as well. We've seen Canadian veteran Jeff Evely, who was on the program, talking about his court challenge on the hiking ban in the Nova Scotia woods. His efforts are being amplified online. Certainly an interesting legal case, as we pointed out here. But now we're seeing, as I've said, the medium is the message. I don't know if people understand what I mean when I say that. The medium is the message. It's if you're working in television or even online, you want stories that lend themselves well to video. So you're more inclined to give coverage to something that is interesting and captivating visually. So you have video to go with your story, to help tell your story. Things that are visual lend themselves better to a visual medium. Therefore, the medium of video is the message, because you're choosing what kind of content to put out there. But after a story gets legs, after it begins, it will become amplified. It feeds on itself. You get into something of an information feedback loop. And the more that you see influencers online jump on the bandwagon or the snowball and ride that snowball down a hill, the bigger it gets. The Jeff Evely wildfire hiking ban story is a snowball, and it is growing in size as it rolls down the hill. Case in point, James O'Keefe, who I think is at a point with his online media presence where he's continuing to try to find things to keep himself relevant online. And he has now jumped on the snowball, went up to Nova Scotia, an American, to take a hike in the woods. I don't know how much traction it's getting. Of course, he does have a large online following, so many people have seen this, but I have to ask myself, how much of a stunt is this in itself, or how much of it is legitimate journalism?
This is James O'Keefe with OMG, and this is walking into the Canada woods on purpose for a $25,000 fine. There it is right there. Stay out of the woods. $25,000 fine. Oh, there's a DSLR worker. There's a worker right there. What happens if we go in there? $3,000 fine. We don't have anything to start a fire, though. Doesn't matter. You want to break the law, So here in Nova Scotia, they've actually banned hiking due to a burn ban. They're going to fine you $25,000. We're going hiking in Canada. Let's see what happens. There's also a bunch of Karens walking along the boardwalk. A lot of snitches. Snitches get stitches.
I saw these two gentlemen. They're gone in the woods. They have backpacks. Okay, I'll send the officers over here shortly. Thanks for calling. All right.
How did he get that audio from police? I have to wonder about that. Was that staged? Did they have someone call police and record the call? I don't know, because normally a call like that from Cape Breton police, I'm inclined to maybe phone them and ask them if they actually released that audio. I wonder how this raises a flag for me.
Thank you.
Gay Breton Regional Police, it's a wrap.
So we've arrived in Nova Scotia, Canada, and we're driving down the highway, and it says stay out of the woods, and then it says it's a burn ban, $25,000 fine. If you go into the woods, we are going into the woods. So the man, Jeff, actually did this, and I thought about doing this, but then I saw Jeff's story, and I figured, hey, I should do that.
We've issued $25,000 fines for going into the woods.
I'm just going to make this as painless as I can for those guys.
And the fine is $20,872.50.
We'll see whether the local authorities enforce this absurd law, which is a violation of human rights and human dignity. We have no fire starters on us. Nothing can start a fire. I do have my trekking poles, my backpacks, and my hidden cameras, unless they arrest me, which we're in Canada, so it's certainly possible. But we're here in the woods. It's a very overcast day. It's going to rain. So the question
Thing is, he isn't arrested. He's American. So if he just leaves and doesn't pay the fine, if he is given a fine, I don't think he was given a fine. I don't think they ever did ticket him. Police showed up there, looked around a bit. I don't think they put too much effort into trying to find him. But he's an American. So unless he goes back to Nova Scotia at some point, but in which case he could potentially be arrested for not paying a fine. But because he's American, it becomes more complicated. Even out of province stuff becomes complicated when one province issues a fine, a provincial fine like that. Nevertheless, there are tools that can be used, particularly against Canadians, by provinces to try to collect on such things. Normally, those kinds of tickets are not pursued by a provincial government because they're more along the lines of traffic tickets, and they're in that realm. But they're usually tickets for maybe $100 or $50 or max like maybe $200. And so it isn't generally worth it for a province to pursue these things legally, to collect on $100 or $200 tickets or $50 tickets. And there are a lot of them that do go uncollected from out of province people. But when you're talking about a larger fine of 25 grand, then the situation, the optics on that begin to change a bit for a province, particularly if they're trying to make a point and set a level of deterrence for people and to protect also their sovereignty provincially, or their authority is a better word, and their jurisdiction. And more than that, if you become part of a larger movement politically, and because some people have been calling for like mass protest of having a lot of people run into the woods. Now that takes on a whole different context, and there could be charges laid at levels beyond what we're seeing with these $25,000 fines. Other kinds of charges laid potentially if people were to try to challenge that law, that whatever you call it. Is it actually a law? It is a law, a provincial law, piece of legislation. But if you are challenging things on that level in an organized way, and you are counseling to commit an offense, it takes on a different context, because now you're dealing with things politically. Now you're getting into constitutional areas. My advice is, don't get yourself into trouble. Don't put yourself in legal jeopardy. Don't do things that could cost you a whole bunch of money and maybe leave your family in financial despair. I think that what Jeff Evely has done, and I'm editorializing now, is fine if he wants to challenge that, and he has support legally, and he has a very interesting legal case. His case can serve as the precedent-setting case. So let that play out. In my view, it doesn't require a bunch of shenanigans to go on. where a lot of people would be put in legal jeopardy, financial jeopardy. No need to harm yourself. And James O'Keefe it's a stunt for O'Keefe to do that. As it's, I don't know if I call that journalism. That's a political stunt in itself. An American coming up here, and he knows he can just leave, not pay the fine, and as long as he never goes back to Nova Scotia, there's not very much of anything. There's probably nothing that would ever come of that. So it's just a little bit of sensationalism. He's not going to jeopardize. He's not at risk of being fined, really. If he gets the ticket, he'll just laugh at it. He'll exit the province and be gone. So if he asks for donations, just keep that in mind. That gets us near the bottom of the hour, folks. And with that, I've got a lot of other stuff going on here. I'm working on some other material to bring forward in other broadcasts in the nights ahead, some research, some video production that I've been working on for quite a long time, a couple of projects, not the least of which is the War of the Worlds production, which is coming along nicely. I've recorded some performances with some of you guys, and it's been fun. And if you are interested in participating in that, I will put the email address up on the screen right there. You can, I'll put this one up right there, maverickmultimedia@mail.com. Email me and we'll set up a time, and I'll provide a portion of the script which you can participate in, and we'll record, and I'll incorporate that into the production. And a couple of people still within the coming week to record their parts, and it's taking a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but that's okay, because all good things in time, and the best things are worth waiting for. And it's coming together pretty nicely, I think. And I'm having a lot of fun doing it with folks too. So I know there are a few more people that I have to email back to set up the times to do that. And if you'd like to participate, just email me, maverickmultimedia@mail.com, and we'll get it set up. We'll get you involved, and you'll be part of our iconic, our epic War of the Worlds production here on Maverick News. And with that, we have to pick a closing tune to leave you with here tonight. What shall we leave you with this evening? Let me pick. What would you like to hear out there? I'll go to the chat here for a moment. Any requests? Dragon says he's got my mind worked up too. That's true, Dragon, because one of the things that I am working on is some material to go with our conversation in the nights ahead, maybe even tomorrow night, on technocracy. So that will be an interesting conversation that will shed, I think, interesting light on the Trump administration in its current incarnation. So you're not going to want to miss that one. Maybe back here tomorrow night. Any requests for a song? Rock and roll, Rick, says Dragon. Norfa wants Cosmo. Okay, Cosmo. Yeah, he's been waiting for me. So you want Cosmo, Norfa? I'll get you a Cosmo. Where'd you go, my friend? My best friend, Cosmo. Free dog. See you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side.
I heard old Cosmo howling last night up on the hill where the moon shines so bright. He was singing a tune, lonesome dogs cry about freedom and running and touching the sky. If I leave here tomorrow, won't you still remember me? Cosmo's free, running wild, wild as the wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. Cosmo's got them paws that just itch to roam. He's chasing his dreams, he's far from home. With a heart full of love and a spirit so free. breaking all the legs. Yeah, the night's getting cold and the sky's turning gray. The cosmos still out there, he's miles away. He's not looking back, he's got his path to tread. With every step, he's leaving his bed. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. So if you're feeling lost, just think of Cosmos Run. Remember his spirit, his freedom, his fun. And maybe one day, when you're feeling low, you'll find your own freedom and let your spirit go. If I leave here tomorrow, would you still remember me? Cosmos free, running wild, wild as a wind can be. He's a free dog, he's a free dog, he's a free dog. In his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard of a bird, a heart full of love and a spirit so free. He's living his life wild and carefree. He's got the stars in his eyes, the wind in his fur, a tail that wags like it's never heard a bird. Cosmos on a journey, he's got no chains. He's running through the fields, breaking all the legs.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.